автор 6 бестселлеров, переведенных на 30 языков, бакалавр по бухгалтерскому учету и финансовому планированию. Активно занимается серфингом и прыжками с трамплина и катается на скейте. Мировой чемпион по количеству объятий. Счастливый супруг и отец. Печатает со скоростью 43 слова в минуту. Вдохновляет миллионы людей во всем мире на то, чтобы переосмыслить свою жизнь. Самый известный мотивационный спикер в мире – Ник Вуйчич.
Москва, привет! Добрый день! Спасибо! Я люблю вас. It is my privilege and honor to be here with you. I understand that for anyone who does not speak English, you all have a headset. Is that correct? We good? Can you put your hand up if you speak English? Can I see, put your hand up, you speak English? Excellent. And put your hand up if you have a headset and it's working fine. No. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I don't speak Russian and they told me that you have headsets, so I hope that that works out great. I want to thank Global Synergy and the forum for having me here today. I really appreciate the children who sang that song. Can we thank those children who sang that song, please? Thank you. I want to say today that I don't know who you are and I don't know what challenges you have, but not all challenges are bad. There are times in life where things happen that you don't understand how you're going to overcome some obstacles. You don't know how to overcome some fears. And I hope that today, with the spirit of entrepreneurship, that you're inspired to not see challenges just as a bad thing, but to see challenges as a good thing at times. We know that as an entrepreneur, we could say, well, it's very difficult to become an entrepreneur in Russia. It's hard in Moscow. Either there's a lack of resources, or there's too much competition, or there's some other reason why it's difficult to become an entrepreneur. I don't say that I'm personally an entrepreneur as a primary thing or career, but I'm first of all a father. I'm second of all a family man with my husband, role with my wife Kanae. I love my children and I love my wife very, very much. And no matter who Nik Vujicic is, no matter what good and excellent things I ever take on, whether it be a speaking career, entrepreneurship, projects, first and foremost is faith and family. And I don't know who knows the good news, but my wife is expecting identical twin girls in 3 weeks' time. We already have 2 boys, 4 and 2 years old, Kiyoshi and Dayan, and they're already taller than me. And I used to be somebody who, oh, there they are. Yeah, aren't they beautiful? Klasno. Krasiva. I never thought that my dreams would come true of being happy. I never thought that I would have peace in my heart. I always thought to myself that I would always be alone. But my parents taught me some great principles and values to dream big and to never give up. I was convinced that I would never be able to get married and even hold my wife's hand. Well, I don't need hands to hold my wife's hand. I just need to be the husband that holds her heart. And you don't need hands to hold your wife's heart. How am I going to hold my kids when they're crying, I thought. Well, I cannot put my arms around them, but they put their arms around me. And what I want you to understand is that the power of perspective of challenges is so key. You know, my mom and dad, they had a wonderful perspective and really amazing foundation of love. They loved me. They told me that every day. Nick, you're beautiful. Nick, don't worry about what anyone else says about you. Nick, you can do anything you put your heart to. I want you to know that if it wasn't for a foundation of love, I wouldn't be who I am. If it wasn't for a foundation of love, I actually wouldn't be happy. Let me ask you two questions today. Who are you and what do you want? I want to be real with you and tell you that achieving goals, there's nothing wrong with achieving goals. There's nothing wrong with making money. But your identity and your value has nothing to do with what you achieve or what people think of you or how much you have. We need to first get rid of that mentality of disability, of victimization. When we have a challenge, the first disability we have is poor me. I have no arms and legs. Maybe your situation is different. Maybe you have an alcoholic father. Maybe you have a lack of skills. Maybe you want to start a business, but you need money to start a business. Now you can either sit in the corner like I could have sat in the corner and said, you know what, I have no arms and legs, I have no arms and legs, but my parents said, stop complaining about what you don't have and try change what you can. Be thankful for what you have, because when you're thankful for what you have, now you use what you have. Have you ever thought of it this way? Success? Success is not how much money you have. Success is understanding that somebody to have success was a master of using what they had to the best of their ability. For instance, if I don't know how to invest properly $100, how do you think I'm going to be able to know how to invest $1,000? For you in your life, we come on this victimization of angle saying, well, I wish I had this and I wish I had that. When my parents said, Nick, don't wish for arms and legs. God didn't give you arms and legs, but He gave you a brain. Use your brain. You have a little foot. Do something with your little foot. I want to ask you today, what are you thankful for? Think of it for a second. Because that attitude of gratitude is not in our mind when we're in this victimization mode. Everyone's against me. I wish I was in a different place. I wish I was brought up different. I wish I had more money. Stop being a victim and see what you do have and give yourself a chance. I don't want to talk about broken pieces in your life. I want to talk about you, where you're at right now in your heart and your goal. Because no matter where you are starting, we all start from the beginning. Take one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. You don't know what's around the corner till you go around the corner. I don't know what I can achieve with my little foot until I try. Thomas Edison, he made the light bulb. Anyone know how many times he tried to make the light bulb? 10,000 times. Thomas Edison changed everything. Look how many lights we have. They probably have 1,000 lights in this auditorium. How many light bulbs are there in the world? It was because it started with a vision and a dream, and he didn't talk about what he didn't have. He tried his best with what he did have. And when someone came up to Thomas Edison and said, hey, how does it feel failing 9,999 times? You know what he said? I never failed 9,999 times. Now I know 9,999 ways in how not to make a light bulb. Isn't that interesting? Is it okay to fail, Moscow? Is it okay to fail? Da? If you fail, are you a failure? Niet. Is it okay to fail? Yes. Who do you know who has never failed at anything? Has your dad failed at something? Has your mum failed at something? Have you failed at something? Has your spouse failed at something? We all have something in our life that we go through our ups and downs. If you see my foot, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And I want you to know that you need to be your biggest encourager. You can be victimized by people who say, oh, that's your dream and goal? It's never gonna happen. Guess what happened when I told my mom and dad that I wanted to be a speaker? You know what she said? What? You want to be a speaker? I said, uh-huh. She said, what do you want to speak about? I said, I don't know. She said, who's going to want to hear you speak? I said, I don't know. She said, are they going to pay for you? I said, I don't know. She said, do you have any invitations? No. How are you going to get them? I don't know. She said, even if you had something to say and someone wanted to hear you speak and they paid you, how are you going to get to this speaking engagement? Good questions, right? Now, it wasn't demeaning from my mum and dad. My mum and dad are very logical. They're very wise. My mum and dad always said, Nick, work hard. Life is not going to be just something that you get given things. You got to do something. Don't be victimized. When I went to the shopping mall and I saw a toy that I wanted, when I said, Mum, I want that, you know what they said? No. Pay for it yourself. But I have no money. Good. Then figure out how you're going to get money. You see, they were not mean to me, but they didn't want me to be a victim, to believe that everything is owed to me. They said to me, your brother Nick takes out the rubbish bin. Your sister is too young. You can do something at the house and get paid. What do you want to do? And I said, you know what? I'll vacuum the floor. At 6 years old, I started vacuuming the floor, walking like this, and holding the vacuum cleaner like this, and going like this. And a week pay would be $2. If I wanted something from the store that costed $15, I'd have to save for 7 weeks or 8 weeks. Do you know what that taught me? It taught me patience. It gave me dignity. It helped me to understand how important it is to save money, to set goals. All of those lessons came from my parents saying no to that toy. Please don't be a person that gives everything your children want. I'm very generous to my children, but I also set goals for them. And I want you to know that those early things that my parents did for me helped me to understand, you know what? I have control over maybe not everything, but I'm going to take control over what I can change. That led me to a financial literacy career. In my mind, knowledge, expansion of a world of financial independence. I went into stock market investing at age 16. Me and my brother, when my dad was at work, we traded his money on the stock market for him. We were teenagers. At age 19, I bought my first real estate investment property and made 50% in 1 year. I want you to know that dreams can come true, but you need to be faithful with the little things first and try to figure out what mental disabilities do we have when it comes to dreaming big. You might think that you will have people who will put you down, and you think that maybe my mom and dad were not encouragers to my dream, but guess what? They were not the biggest discouragers either. I was. Think of the 3 biggest discouragers in your life. Who are they? It only takes 5 seconds for someone to discourage you. And you walk away, and guess what you do? You repeat it in your mind. When I go to school and people look at me and tease me at school, it takes 3 seconds to say, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. I walk away and I'm thinking, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly. You are your biggest discourager or encourager. Don't play the victim role. Second thing, have an attitude of gratitude. I want you to think of something right now. I want you to think of actually the top 3 things that you're thankful for. Think of them. Are you a person who's thankful? Let me tell you, I've seen more poor people happy than rich people happy. I'll say it again. I've seen more poor people happy than rich people happy. I would like to be rich and happy, but that's the truth. It's not about riches that give you happiness. But if I told you right now, I want you to think of 3 things that you're happy for, I don't think money is there. I think your faith is there. I think your family is there. And I think maybe your friends are there. Let me ask you a question. If you had 15 seconds to breathe, what do you think of your life? When was the last time you hugged your wife? Or took her on a date? Or bought her flowers? Or massaged her stinky feet? When was the last time you had a conversation with your children that's not got to do with a career or school or cleaning their room? You see, my dad had 3 jobs. He was very, very busy. And my dad was a leader of a Protestant church. He did that voluntarily. And he did 3 jobs, plus start a church. And he had a disabled son and 2 other children. And my mom had a full-time job as a nurse. He was very, very busy. But do you know who my dad was to me? Not just my dad. He was not just my role model. He was my friend. And I talk about him in a past tense because 7 months ago, he died of cancer. And I'll never forget the times. He was 62 years old, pretty young, many people say. Yes, very young. But I'll never forget when I was a kid that he would work so hard. But when he was home, he was home. Like when I go home, I am home. If I take my phone to the dining table, do you know what my wife does? She grabs my phone and puts it on a high bookshelf that I cannot reach. Because when I am home, then I am home. And when I'm with my family, that's my greatest joy. That's my goal. That's my passion. Yes, you must sacrifice some family time for seasons, especially when you're starting a business. But don't let the good and excellent things in this life distract you from the most important things. Because today might be your last day. Make today count. Make sure that you understand that at your funeral, no one's going to talk about your achievements. They're going to talk about who you are. Were you kind? Were you loving? Were you gracious? Were you forgiving? Were you thoughtful or were you self-centered? I want you to know that culture doesn't have to mend who you are. And yes, the business world is difficult, but you don't have to change the level of integrity in your life either. In fact, I will tell you, I would rather be a poor man with peace in my soul than a rich man who will never forget the lies he said, or regret, or shame, or guilt. Can you see a limbless man smiling? It's because it has nothing to do with arms and legs. And I'm telling you, young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs of Moscow and the future of Russia, your integrity matters. Because who you are and how you do what you do sets the bar and the foundation of this nation. That practices of many countries, I've been to now 68 countries, and there are many business people who believe that it's okay to bend on different integrity levels. I'll tell you right now, the moment you are not integrity as a citizen of Russia, I want you to know that you have stopped the full potential of this country. It is with integrity that we do everything we do, and that's life. How do I expect my sons to know how to be a good husband who cherishes their wife if I don't show them how I cherish their mother? How will I expect my sons to know what generosity is until they see their father donate his time and money, $1 million, through our nonprofit organization to setting sex slaves free, orphanages that they can get medical equipment, wheelchairs, whatever it is? You got to be real, and we must step out of that bubble of wanting more and not being thankful for what you have. Ask yourself today, who are you and what do you want? Today, call your mother or your father if they're alive, or your wife or your kids. Tell them that you love you. Tell them that you love them. In fact, with the permission of the person sitting next to you, I want you right now, with the permission of the person sitting next to you, give them a hug or give them a high five right now. Go. We're going to do something a little different. Are you ready? Moscow, are you ready? Okay, ready? Put your hand up if you've never told anybody your goals or your dreams. Put your hand up if you've never told anybody your goals and dreams. Let me see it. So you've all told somebody? No? Okay, couple of you. I want you right now to turn to the person next to you. We're going to do this for about 3 minutes altogether, 3 or 4 minutes. I want to tell you why I'm doing this later, but I want you to turn to the person next to you, tell him your name, tell him what your goal is, and the biggest obstacle standing in the way. So in a moment, you're going to turn to the person next to you, and you're going to tell them 3 things. Your name, and then they're going to tell you their name. Then you're going to tell them your goal, and they're going to tell you their goal. Then you're going to tell them what's the biggest obstacle and challenge that stands in the way of you and that goal, and they're going to do the same for you as well. Ready, set, go. You should be onto the goals by now. water. 1 minute. Ten seconds. Great. Спасибо. Was that a healthy exercise? Was that good? Did it feel good? Isn't it cool to know someone else's goal and dream? It's not just their name, it's their goal and dream. And how good does it feel to know that you're not the only one who has a goal and dream, and you're not the only one that has an obstacle that's stopping them achieve their goal and dream? How cool would it be if I could actually tell you that most of the obstacles and challenges that you all heard are actually possibly a factor that they can overcome? I'm not going to say that everything is possible, but if someone is scared, you can overcome fear. You overcome fear by courage. Fear of what people think of us, fear of rejection, fear of failure. The way that I love to demonstrate courage is I'm actually going to jump off this table, do a backflip, and then land on the floor, okay? Are you ready? Ready? 1, raz, dva. Nah, man, are you serious? If I did that, I'll break my arm or something. But I want you to know that I'm not going to jump off this table because there is no purpose to it. There is no benefit and there's only pain. What I want you to understand is that not all obstacles actually remain. I have no arms and legs. That will probably remain. But if the obstacle is that, well, I want to start a business, but I don't have the money for it, well, again, you got to be open to that possibility that one day, somehow, sometime, that obstacle could be removed. What I want to ask you is, the obstacle that you told that person next to you, is it an absolutely impossibility? Is it or not? When I generally say that question and I do a survey, 1 out of 1,000 actually come up with something that is impossible. For instance, health. If you want to start a business but you have cancer, it doesn't mean you can't start a business. You can start a business, but with health complications, that could hinder you from achieving your goal and dream. What I want to establish in your mind is the difference of not impossible or possible, but impossible, possible, probable. I don't want to just know if something's possible. I want to know if it's probable. And I will tell you that as long as you have a mentality of doing your best in every situation, that even when you don't expect those blessings to come, that if you're actually on a plane and you sit down on the plane, you have a choice to either open your mouth to the person next to you or not open your mouth to the person next to you. Guess what? I was on a plane one day and I had a project and I happened to sit next to an expert in the field, and I gained so much wisdom, it could have costed me $30,000 in tuition in a specialty just to know what I learned therein. You got to be ready for those moments that are unexpected. You can't just say, I'm never going to do it, I can't do it. No, what are you doing to not just make it possible, but actually closer to probable? Talking about all these obstacles and challenges, I want to talk about my own personal career in how I started speaking. I want to tell you this because it's a wonderful story. I want to ask you, who do you think was the first person to look at me and say, you are going to be a speaker? It wasn't my mom and it wasn't my dad. In fact, my dad said, Nick, you need to start an accounting and financial planning business because then you can get employees to be your hands and your feet. Great advice, right? I was 6 years old. And he pushed me so hard in mathematics that I was first in my class, that they put my mathematics class with the older children 1 year in advance. And I did go through with a double degree in accounting and financial planning. I failed accounting though in high school. I hated accounting. I thought it was very, very boring. Today, I now know how to read profit and loss, cash flow statements, and balance sheets. What I want you to know is that my parents definitely never thought that Nick Vujicic, without arms and legs, could go on 2,500 planes around the world, meet 17 presidents, and speak to 10 governments, where governments change their laws and their practices to bring in more special needs children into an education system or society. Who ever thought that a man without arms and legs could reach out to the world and hug the world? I hug everyone that I can see. I hug everyone that I can see, and the scary thing about hugging so many people is someone can just pick me up and take me home, and I can't stop it. But I will tell you that in my life, I never imagined that I would be a speaker. It wasn't a dear friend that told me that I would be a speaker. I was 17 years old, and I was at school, grade 11, and I happened to walk past the janitor, the one who cleans the toilets at our school. Did you ever know the name of the janitor at your high school? Did you ever say hello to them? I did. And one day, guess what? He looked at me and he said, "Hey, Nick." I said, "Yes, Arnold." He said, "You are going to be a speaker." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You are going to be a speaker." Now, nowhere in Arnold's job description did he have in the description of his responsibilities to make sure that he inspires the limbless boy at school. Little did he know that that little belief in the limbless boy at school would now become a speaker speaking in front of 8 million people face to face and 1.6 billion people on TV. He didn't have to open his mouth. He didn't have to take time to look at me in the eye. He didn't have to do anything, but he did. And look what happened when he invested that one moment of belief in me. It was amazing, but I actually rejected it very harshly. I said, "You are crazy," and I walked away. He came up to me the next day and he said, "Nick, you're going to speak." I said, "No." He said, "Nick, can you please speak here at this school? I will even organize an event with 7 students here in the school, and I just want you to share your story." I said, "I don't have a story." He says, "Yes, you do." I said, "No, I don't." He says, "Yes, you do." I said, "Leave me alone." And I walked away. The next day, he sees me, and I look at him, and I run away. He runs after me. After 3 months, I finally said yes, because he got so annoying. And in front of 6 students or 7 students, I spoke from my heart. And I was very nervous. My palms were sweaty. My knees were shaking. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And then I started seeing this girl cry, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." I said, "What's wrong?" She says, "Nothing. I was just touched in my heart." And I'm like, "Really? Cool." They said, "Can we get your number?" I said, "Why do you want my number?" They said, "We're going to call you to maybe speak again." I said, "Are you serious?" They said, "Yes." I started getting calls from different groups and churches and some other groups of students. And I spoke around ages 17 to 19 around 12 times. And one night after a speaking engagement, my mum was waiting for me, and the people who took me there to the speaking engagement dropped me back off at home, and my mum is looking at me like this. And they said, "Hi, Mom, we need to talk." And I'm like, "Okay." So we go around the house, and she sits down, and then she gets up and she's walking like this. And I'm watching her walking like this, and she's walking. "You know what? I want to know the truth. I want to know what's going on." I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean what's going on? What?" She said, "I don't know, but I want to know something. What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "These strangers, they pick you up. I don't know who they are. They take you for 2 hours, and then when you come back, you're smiling and they're crying. What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm speaking." She says, "What are you speaking about?" I said, "I'm sharing my story." She says, "You have a story?" I said, "I think so." And she said, "Is this a hobby or a job?" And I said, "A job." She said, "Do they pay you?" I said, "No." She said, "Then it's not a job." She said, "Listen to what your father said. Stick to accounting and financial planning, and make sure you don't let school go." Yes, no problem. At age 19, I spoke again, and a girl cried on this shoulder, weeping, saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. No one's ever told me that they love me. No one's ever told me that I'm beautiful the way that I am." Fathers, make sure you tell your daughters they're beautiful. Fathers, make sure you tell your daughters that you love them, and not just expect that they know. Tell them. This girl was suicidal, and her parents didn't know. And when she hugged me and she cried, she said, "Now I know there's hope for my life." And I'm like, wow. When I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, I actually tried to end my life by drowning myself in a bathtub. I had bullying at school. I had a fear of being alone, that I'd never get married, I'd never have a job, and I'd never be happy. Guess what? I was wrong. And I'm so glad that beautiful things can come from your broken pieces when you give your broken pieces a chance. Have an attitude of gratitude. Don't be the victim, but be the victor. You can have victory, and you can overcome. And not only can you overcome and find your miracle, but now you can be a miracle for someone else. Just like Arnold, the janitor, sparked that vision in me, you can spark vision in someone else and change their life forever. And if a man without arms and legs can go out and hug the world, then you can go and hug the world to someone else as well. I want you to know to get rid of these disabilities and know that I'm just like you. I'm just like you. Except when we look at our challenges, we may differ in how we see things. But brokenness is brokenness, and victory is victory. And I want you to know that when that girl cried on my shoulder and she found victory, it became my most addictive drug. It was my addictive drug to see people's lives change. And I came home and I said, Mom and Dad, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And they said, what? I said, I'm going to be a speaker. And my dad said, finish school first and then you can do whatever you want. And I said, sure. But I still wanted to speak during university. So where do you start? Well, back then there was no GPS, there was no YouTube, and there was not much technology in 2002 in Australia. I'm sure Moscow was actually ahead of Australia in 2002 in many aspects. But I'll tell you this, I started from the very beginning. I actually got a list of phone numbers of schools and started calling them. Did I know marketing? No. Obstacle number one. Obstacle number two. Did I know how to speak? No. Did I have any invitations? No. I had about 10 obstacles standing in my way to achieve my goal and dream. How many do you have? You can overcome them all. So this is how it went. I started calling schools. Hello. Hi, my name is Nick and I'm a speaker and I was wondering if I can come and speak at your school. No thank you. And they hung up the phone. Moscow, is that a failure or a success? 1, 2, 3. Put your hand up if you think it's success. Put your hand up if you think it's failure. Do you guys want to talk about it? So if I called a school and I wanted to speak at the school and she says no, then it's a failure. Moscow, is it okay to fail? Can you give me some volume on that? Moscow, is it okay to fail? Are you a failure if you fail? No. So what did I do? I called another school. Hello. Hello, my name is Nick Vujicic and I have no arms and legs. What? I said, my name is Nick Vujicic and I have no limbs. She said, are you serious? I said, yes. She said, how are you holding the phone? And I'm thinking, why does that matter? Hasn't she heard of Bluetooth or hands-free, right? And she did not believe me and she hung up. She said, no. Moscow, failure or success? Failure. Is it okay to fail? I called another school. Hello. Hi, my name is Nick Vujicic and I have no arms and legs and I'm a speaker. Can I come to your school and speak? Let me check with the principal. I'm like, whoa. She said, can I have your number? I said, yes. So I gave her my number and I'm waiting for her to call me back. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to be a speaker. I'm not going to be an accountant. Accounting is boring, right? My phone rings. I pick it up. Hello? Is this Nick Vujicic? I said, yes. She said, well, I talked to the principal and we agreed that if you have no arms and legs, maybe you should definitely not come because you're just going to scare all the children. Now, was that offensive? Yes. Did I get angry? Only a little bit. Why? Because some challenges are good. I'm not the one that missed out. She's the one that missed out, not me. And if they don't want me, that's okay. I'll go to another school. So I called 5 schools. 9, 15, 24, 29, 38, 45, 52 schools said no. I failed 52 times. No? Yeah. But every time I got a no, I got better and better and better and better and better. This is how my 53rd phone call went. Hello? Hello, my name is Vujicic and I'm a motivational speaker, and I was wondering if I can come and speak at your school about bullying, self-esteem, dreaming big, and never giving up. And she said, okay. And I'm like, what do I say now? I wasn't ready for success. Was that failure or success? Success. And then I got nervous and I said, can you pay? She said, what? It's not for free? And I said, no, unfortunately, I have some costs. She said, well, what's your cost? And I'm thinking, I don't know my cost. I don't know what I'm doing. I said, how about 50 bucks? She said, okay. And I'm like, oh yeah, 50 bucks, not bad. I got a job. Guess what? I wrote down her address and I said, thank you very much. She said, can you come next Tuesday? I said, yes. She said, okay, we'll see you then. And I'm like, all right. I hung up the phone and I'm like, success! I'm going to be a speaker. I was so excited. And then guess what? I looked at the map. Now, there's no GPS, remember? So I got the book. We had a map in a book. And I'm turning the page and I'm trying to find, where is this school? It's a 2.5-hour drive. And I'm like, oh, failure. How are you going to get there? And all those voices in your head, this is silly, this is crazy, you're not going to do this, you can't do this, you're going to fail, you're not going to be a speaker. And all those voices are in your head, just like mine. And so I didn't want to go up to my parents because they didn't believe in my dream. So I went to my brother. My brother was 16 years old and he's watching the TV like this. And I come into the room and I say, hey bro. He says, yeah. I said, I got some good news. Oh yeah, what's that? Oh, a school wants me to speak. Oh, that's nice. And I said, hey, can I ask you for a favor? And he said, wait. You want me to take you to the school, huh? And I said, please, bro, you don't understand. I called 52 schools and they all said no, and I finally got a yes. I can't afford to cancel. Please, can you help me? He said, okay, calm down. He said, where is it? And I said, the address is in my room. He said, okay. He said, when is it? I said, next Tuesday. And I was hoping he would say yes, and you know what he said? Nah. I said, why not? I'm busy. I said, you're busy? I said, what are you doing? He said, nothing. And I walk away. And I'm thinking, you know what? I can't afford to cancel. I came back and I said, hey bro, I'll give you 50 bucks. And he said, okay. So now he's driving the car on Tuesday and he's seeing all the houses disappear. And he says, where are we going? And I'm in the other front seat looking at the map. And I said, we're driving for 2.5 hours. He said, 2.5 hours? I said, yeah, you shouldn't be worried. You're getting paid. He said, yeah, okay. He said, but where are you speaking? There's all farms here. Are you speaking to the animals? And I said, no. He said, do you know how many kids are going to be at school? No. He said, do you know how long you're going to be speaking for? No. He said, why didn't you ask him that? I said, I don't know what I'm doing. All of a sudden, I'm freaking out. I'm so scared. I get to the school and I hug the headmaster and I say, thank you so much for having me. I just have 2 questions. She said, yes. I said, how many people are going to be there and how many minutes am I going to speak for? Now, imagine I have a lot invested on this one speech. I called 53 schools. I paid my brother 50 bucks. I paid petrol and fuel for the car. There's a lot on the line. 2.5-hour drive there, 2.5-hour drive home, 5 hours. And I didn't ask those 2 simple questions. She said, we're so excited. We want you to speak for 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, all that for 5 minutes? And I'm trying to calm myself down. My brother, he walks away laughing out loud. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe it's a big crowd, maybe it's a big crowd. I said, how many people are going to be there? She said, oh, we have all of our leaders, 10. I felt like a failure. Those voices, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're never going to be a speaker. This is crazy, this is not a good business plan. You failed. And all those voices were in my head while I was up on stage. I came off stage and I gave my brother 50 bucks. There's your 50 bucks. I said, don't tell mom when we get home. I get home and my mom sees me as soon as I go home. She says, hey Nick, how was the speech? It was good, mom. And I went into my room and I closed the door and I didn't come out for a meal. I cried and went to sleep. I believed that my dream would be impossible. In the morning at 8:30, very early for a 19-year-old, my phone rings. I'm like, who's calling me so early? And I didn't pick it up. Second time. And then I remembered what happened the day before. I got depressed. I got angry. I got sad. Third time. Okay. So I pick up the phone. I'm half asleep. Hello?
Hello, is this Nick Vujicic, a motivational speaker?
Yes. Hi. Harasho. Good morning. How are you? Как дела? Good. We heard that you speak about bullying. Is that true? I said, yes. She said, great. We heard that you're very, very good. And I said, okay. I said, who did you hear that from? She said, we called the school that you were at because they told us you were going there and you made a difference in the leadership of the school. I said, okay, thank you. She said, Nick, we want you at our school. We'll do whatever you need. We'll pay you $150 and we'll pick you up. We'll look after you. We'll do whatever we need to do. But just tell me one thing. We don't know how to do one thing. I said, what's that? She said, you're such a good speaker. It must be impossible to get on your schedule. How do we get on your schedule? And I said, let me check my schedule. I got my schedule and I opened up the book, blank page. I said, how about next Friday? She said, what? You have an opening? I said, yes, I do. She said, wonderful, we'll take next Friday. She said, are we good? Do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, I have 2 questions. How long would you like me to speak for and how many people are going to be there? She said, we would like you to speak for 20 minutes in front of 500 students. Does that sound okay to you? I said, yes. Moscow, failure or success? Do you know how hard it is to have a successful career or business without marketing? Very hard. Do you know how much money I put into my own marketing? 0. Every time I spoke at a school, more people heard about me. And I spoke there, more people heard about me. I now have 35,000 invitations for me to speak, and I get 100 invitations calling my office every single week. That is success. My website is attitudeisaltitude.com. Attitudeisaltitude.com. And I want you to know that your attitude is altitude. That when you have an attitude of gratitude, the things that you're thankful for, and you don't play the victimized role, then you have the grounding to say, okay, here I am here, that's where I want to go. Don't be fooled to think that a different season of life will have no stress. Because I've seen 8-year-olds who are stressed because homework is so hard and my brother and sister, they annoy me every single day. Then you talk to the 13-year-olds. Oh, I'm so stressed out right now. My friends, they invite me to the party, then they uninvite me to the party. My parents, they don't understand me and they come into my room and they don't give me my privacy. I need to figure my life out. I'm so stressed out right now. I need a boyfriend. They're stressed. Then you talk to the 17-year-olds. I'm so stressed. I got to get into university. If I can just get into the right university, then everything's going to be okay. They get into university and is everything okay? No. What do they now need? Money. Oh, if I can just get a job, then everything's going to be okay. They finally get their job, and after 2 days, they look at their boss in the face, and they look at God, and they say, really? You gave me him? I hate him. He stresses me out. And then all the single people, oh, I know I'm stressed right now, but when I find the one, then everything is going to be okay. No, go talk to those who are married. They're going to tell you if you're not happy single, you're not going to be happy married. Yes? A lot of married people doing this right now. I want to ask you, who are you and what do you want? Go for that goal. Go for that dream. If you're single, then you don't have to think about your wife or your children. You're in an optimum time to start something. Now that I'm a husband and a father, I have more responsibilities and burdens in my filtering of my decision processes. But as I take one step at a time, if you fall, if you fail, you can still get back up. Failure equals education. Write that down. Failure, like a mathematical equation. Failure equals education. And underneath that, obstacles equals opportunity. I had an obstacle about not knowing anything about marketing. Could I have said, well, I give up? Yeah. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to take it as an opportunity to learn about marketing. Practice makes perfect. Do what you can. If you can't change what you can't change, you can still change what you can. Read books. The YouTube channels of so many entrepreneurs are so inspiring. So many different people's stories that I've been touched by. I hope that you've been touched by my story, but I want to share with you one of the greatest entrepreneurship stories that I could ever share. He was a guy called Edson Bueno from Brazil. Edson, at 4 years old, lived in a house that's much, much smaller than a portion of this stage. I would say the house was about 5 meters by 5 meters. He lived with his mom, his dad, and his brothers. His family was a family who lived in a house made of cardboard and wood on the streets. His family, his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather were shoe shiners. They would get up every morning and they would shine shoes of the business people, making a little bit of money, just enough to have food. When Edson started shoe shining at 4 years old, 4 years later, at 8 years old, he was running across the street and a car hit him. He became unconscious. And if it wasn't for a doctor that was there at the intersection, he actually would have died. That doctor saved his life. And when he woke up, he realized, wow, this man saved my life. I want to save other people's lives. I am going to be a doctor. No one in his family ever had the privilege of going to school. To go to school in Brazil, you needed to have a uniform. To have a uniform, you needed to buy the uniform. To buy it, you needed money. They had no money. So he starved himself and did not eat for many, many months, barely eating. He saved up enough money to buy a torn uniform. His mother sewed it up, and then he was, for the first time, one person in his family who went to school. He went to school at age 8. He couldn't read. He did not know mathematics. He didn't know anything. He lagged and he failed for 2 years. He was always last in his class. But then after 2 years, he got first. It took him some time, but then from that day on, he was number one, number one, number one, number one, number one, number one, all the way to grade 12. When he was grade 12, he went to go and apply for some medical scholarships. And every time he got interviewed, the people who were interviewing him cried. And they looked at each other and they knew that this boy wasn't going to stop and he was going to fulfill his dream. He got a full ride scholarship all the way through med school and graduated with specialties at age 30. He then started his first hospital at age 33. He had 10 employees in that hospital. At age 60, he had 45,000 employees. 45,000 employees, and a company which was a medical insurance company that grossed $5 billion a year. He sold that company at age 62 for a lot of money. Did he sacrifice a lot? Yes. Did he fail a lot? Yes. But when you have dream and vision, don't just say to Nick Vujicic, you don't understand entrepreneurship in Russia. No, I don't. But Edson Bueno became an entrepreneur in Brazil. And Russia has a lot more infrastructure than Brazil and a lot more opportunities than Brazil. And he was a shoe shiner. And I don't think anyone in this room is a shoe shiner. If Edson can be a shoe shiner and then become a billionaire, what do you want? Dream big. I want everyone to stand up on your feet. This is going to be difficult because I speak English, but I want you to repeat something out loud. I want you to repeat a couple sentences today. I want you to say, today I choose to not give up. Today I choose to believe. I choose to be thankful. I choose to dream big. I will love myself. I will love my family. And I will do my best to love them and love everyone to make Russia a better place. Let's give yourself a hand, Global Synergy. You may be seated. Can I tell you 2 more stories? Are you sure? Can I tell you 2 more stories? So if you haven't been writing anything yet down, I'm going to give you now the list of 1 to 7. Something that you can go back to all the time. Number 1, do not be a victim. Number 2, be courageous and try. Number 3, when I fail, I will try again. Number 4, failure is education. Number 5, obstacles are opportunities. Number 6, dream bigger. Number 7, change what you can. And number 8, be patient. When I was a teenager going to school, I had my ups and downs at school. And my parents always said to me, Nick, don't forget the poor people. Whatever your goal is, I want you to put this into your life somehow in an applicable and practical way. One thing that I needed was motivation. That's why you come to this summit. That's why you come to this conference, to get knowledge, to get motivation. But I want to give you something that you're going to be able to motivate yourself. If you want to be a philanthropic person, you may want to do this. For me, I wanted to be a philanthropic person. And what I did was, because I had the goal to always want to make a difference in an orphan's life, I actually got a picture of an orphan and put it on my mirror. And as a teenager, every day that I would look myself in the mirror, I wouldn't just see myself, I would also see the orphan. And I realized that today, no matter what I was going to go through, I was a day closer to helping that orphan. No matter what people told me, no matter what obstacles came to me, I knew that my goal was to help that person. Just when I got a hug from that girl crying on my shoulder, that's when I had that purpose and that spark and passion and dream that was birthed, that if I can change one person's life, I will fail as many times as I need to fail before I'm successfully changing another person's life. I was ready to fail. My brother, my sister, you don't need courage to win. You need courage to fail. Because when you have anything that is worth achieving, it is worth trying and failing for. That's when you know purpose is in your life. And some of you are depressed. The greatest way that you can actually get out of depression is to remind yourself of that purpose-based goal. That you don't know exactly how you're going to reach it. You don't know exactly with whom you're going to reach it with. You don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but you know in your heart this is your dream. For me, I reminded myself of my dream every single day. And that girl who was crying was in my mind, and I thought, I gotta help more teenagers not commit suicide. For me in my life, I'm thankful to report to you that at age 19, we gave away $30,000 cash and fundraised another $30,000 cash to orphanages in South Africa. And I want you to know that I'm dreaming big. I believe that it's you, the entrepreneurs of Russia, the next generation, who will deal in business with integrity, who will be very creative and innovative with virtual reality and augmented reality and many other opportunities that have come to your country that has never been to your country before. That you are the next generation for the backbone of this country, not just economically, but in society, with business practice, with values and attitudes that remember that Russians need to help Russians. If Australians never helped Australians, there would never have been a non-profit organization that allowed me to go to a university. The government couldn't supply me a nurse for me to go to university. I could not go to get my business degrees because the government couldn't help me get somebody who could feed me and help me at university. But a group of Australians came together and said, you know what? We want to make Australia a better place. We want people with special needs to be able to go to university, and we should pay for the nurses that help them go to university. If it wasn't for Australians helping Australians, I would not have gotten my double degree in accounting and financial planning. If I didn't get my degree, I would not have gone to America. If I didn't go to America, I would not have met my wife. And if I didn't meet my wife, I wouldn't have my children. And I tell you right now, you can take my tongue out, you can pluck my eyes out of my head, you can burn my skin and take off my ears. There's two things that's unstoppable. It's my soul that you cannot touch, and my happiness in my family. And when Russians help Russians like Australians help Australians, you are changing lives, and you can make a difference in this country. The key and future of this country is on you. It's on you. Law can't just change a country. Money can't just change a country. It's people with wisdom and drive and energy and motivation and things like this that we can bring the country to a whole new level. I want you to know that I was able to achieve my goals and dreams. And I believe so can you. And I want you to know that the greatest fulfillment, though, that I have for my last story is having my faith in God. And I love the fact that Moscow has a diverse cultural difference and everyone has a different religion. Some of you don't have a religion, but I want you to know that just like everywhere around the world that I share my story, my faith in God, my prayer, the scriptures, the proverbs, the wisdom, the guidance I get out of the Bible, not just a ritual or knowledge, but I actually have a real faith journey with God that I talk to Him and He helps me through the day. And I want you to know that anything that you see that's good in me was only because of my loving God. And I'm not going to be talking to you about my religion, but I just want to say that without my faith and without the power of God in my life, I couldn't be who I am, and I would not have done what I've done. And I've seen such amazing transformations all around the world. And I want to tell you that many of us think that a positive attitude is all you need. It's not true. When your dad has cancer, just having a positive attitude is not enough. Some people say, well, just be good, do good, and good will happen. False. Totally false. Bad things happen to everyone, doesn't it? So in our lives, we need to understand, what do we believe? And when you really believe what you believe, then you can start to see some amazing things. And I want you to know that I've gone to many countries around the world. And one story that I wanted to finish off with is the most powerful one. Imagine that you're a speaker, me, and you're in front of 650 girls. They're 17 years old. They were all kidnapped at age 10. Do you know how many millions of slaves there are in the world? I don't know if you've ever met a slave. But when we talk about making Russia a better place, we're talking about the world to be a better place. I want to be a world changer. I may not be able to change the world, but I do believe that we are in the generation that I believe we can eradicate poverty. I really believe that all it takes is 400 million people to give $1 a day, to focus with one voice, to focus on one platform. Do you know what you can do with $2.8 billion a week? You know how many hospitals we can build, how many schools we can build? You could do a lot. And I don't think it's up to the billionaires to change the world. I believe it's everyday people like you and me who can come together and say, you know what? Enough is enough. We need to make this world a better place. It's good to first provide for your family, but don't forget to give back. And in giving back, I went to go visit these 650 slaves, and they were in India. What do you tell them about hope? Some of these girls were sold by their own mother for $700 US. Would you tell them, be positive? Would you tell them, here's some money? What would you say? I told them that there is hope. I told them about forgiveness. I told them about heaven. I told them about the transformation that can happen when we don't just rely on our own intellect, on our own power. How do you ever forgive somebody who rapes your daughter? How do you ever forgive your mother who sold you into slavery? Now we're talking real. Now we're talking heart. What would you tell them? I told them this, that God loves them, that forgiveness is there, and that He wants them to leave that place and have a new life. And we saw many of those girls go through a faith-based camp, and in 12 months, they were totally changed. Guess what? They didn't just get a job and save up money. They didn't save up money for a house or a car, but they saved up money, $700 US, to go back to the brothels where they were once a slave. They knocked on the door and they had $700 in their back pocket, and they carried a bucket with water and a towel. And when their former master opened the door, the master didn't recognize the former slave. And he says, "Who are you?" She says, "I was once your slave. And I've come here to tell you that I love you, that I'm praying for you, and that I forgive you. I've come here with this bucket of water to wash your feet. It was incredible, the stories I've heard. And guess what they have to do that? They do after that? Here's $700. I'm taking a slave home. And they buy out a slave and they rescue them and they get transformed. Why do I share this story? I'll tell you why. You have a story. You have a story. And your story is not finished. I have a story. And yes, I've now been able to meet 30 people with no arms and no legs, just like me. My parents, they have a story. My dad wrote a book for any parent who has a special needs child. He was able to help many parents with children who have disabilities. Their story helps parents with disabilities. Nick's story helps anyone who has no arms and legs. Those girls in India, they have a story to help other people who feel like there is no hope in slavery. And they go and get hope. My parents had a story. I have a story. The girls in India have a story. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a story. And your story ain't finished. Finish strong. Dream big. Do good and do well. And live in peace, in harmony, and in integrity. Your integrity is not worth any money. Your family will always be more worthwhile than money. Sex, pornography, drugs, alcohol. If you put your happiness in temporary things, your happiness will be temporary. Find your values. Find your faith. Dream big, Russia, and never give up. Thank you very much.